Hey, if anyone's in here, give me a second. Boom, 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 boom. All right, we are live. Can you hear me? I'll turn this up. All right, we are live. Yes, we are live. There we go. All right. Briggs, thoughts on Boulder, Colorado? I love Boulder. Boulder's a nice place to live. Howdy, howdy, howdy. Bob, Martin, Seth, Forgive, Frogvet. There you go. Must be some form of seal of some sort. Brett, what's going on, buddy? Joseph, Propel, Don, B, David Vegas, Rhonda, sorry. I have a friend named Rana, so I see your name and I want to call you Rana. Apparently her parents got lazy and didn't include choppy or anything like that. Yep, brought back on this day in case you guys don't know. Tammy S, how are you? Donna B, what's up? What we got? So in case you're wondering, this vertical live stuff, YouTube's really pushing it. And if you're into starting a YouTube channel or anything like that, I would suggest if they're pushing something, do it. Okay, it'll help your channel. If you're not, I don't think they're going to hold it against you, but you're not going to get that. It's almost like catching a wave. You're going to miss this wave. Things are Finley. How are you, buddy? Darth, how are you, buddy? Justin Scott. The cruise was pretty good. Ruben, went to Catalina, out of Los Angeles. Went to Catalina and Ensenada, and they just came back. I just did it to film the room. The room was kind of cool, and yeah, I'm not a big fan of what do you call it? Let's get this up here a little bit. Not a big fan of Carnival cruises as much as I am the other cruises. Cruise lines like Norwegian, Royal, Princess. I haven't been on all of them, but I've been on enough to make an educated decision. And my decision is I need to try one of the newer ships on Carnival. The older ones aren't doing it for me. It's up from Colorado. Hey, Briggs, love content. Thank you very much, Dan. Hey, so one other thing, if you guys are doing a channel and if you guys want to help out this channel, make sure you hit the like button a lot lately. It's a big thing. The whole algorithm's out of whack, and those AI channels, they're doing the right things and they're getting promoted pretty good. And us people that make videos like the old school way, the old fashioned way without an AI generated thing, kind of falling behind. Named after my uncle Ron. There you go. Florida, how are you, April? Teresa Marie, hello from Montana. David, how are you, buddy? Been a while. Yeah, the algorithm's messing with me right now. I mean, I've fallen behind on something. We've been through this before. I mean, there's always a change that you're not picking up on right away. So, it's hard to explain. But yeah, so I'm not grabbing the algorithm in the beginning when it changed, and now I'm behind. I got to catch back up. No, definitely Badlands Bandit. That is definitely not the worst capital city in the United States. That award goes to Mississippi. Jackson, Mississippi is a frickin' nightmare. What changed? I don't know. They made this big push well, they always make a push, like I said, this vertical live stuff and then shorts. And my audience doesn't, you guys just don't react to shorts. I actually lose subscribers every time I put up a short. I don't like doing shorts. I like doing my long form videos, but you know, it is what it is. So if you don't follow what they're pushing, you kind of suffer. Uh, they just don't promote you like they used to. So I'm in the middle of that right now, but we've been through this before. Get out of it. So yeah, that's why we're doing live vertical live stream today instead of the long form. Yeah, I'm definitely not a shorts fan. I actually have grown to despise them because I watch one. Next thing I know, I'm watching 50 of them, and I'm not getting work done. And if you know me, I I have to be working on something. I'm not a big, not anymore. Not some. Never really was into it, but I'm not a big labor type guy. Like I was in the army and all that, and I've worked other jobs, carpentry and stuff. But that was never anything I liked working on. I got to sneeze now. Hold on. Sorry about that. That was kind of rude. Whew. I had to cover my mic so you guys wouldn't hear the full sneeze. I'm not throwing up a gang sign. Yo, yo, yo. Um, but forgot what I was talking about. Sure, it's something to do with the algorithm. Yeah, well, April, I would love to sit next to you. So, what else is going on out there in the world? I just got back from a cruise. Uh, got, I guess, last Friday. It was okay. I went with my cousin and his wife. God, they've been together so long. I sometimes forget that's a wife and not actually my cousin. But yeah, they've been together since they're both about 60 right now, and they've been together since they were freshmen in high school, I think. Oh yeah. So yeah, we're gonna do the vertical thing tonight and maybe in the future, but I don't think I'm gonna get on shorts. And I'm definitely not gonna go to doing AI edited videos or voiced videos ever. I'll quit making YouTube videos if that's what it ends up being. But in case you don't know, we have brought back On This Day. I love On This Day. There's a core audience of people that follow this channel, follow that channel. I would love it if you went over there and subscribe, help us out, watch a couple videos. It doesn't have to be the video on today. It could be an older video, which is remarkable because it's a channel where we just talk about historical events in the past on each day. Give me one second. We have a new pope. Oh, so yeah, so it's really interesting. But the downside is, and this is what I've kind of learned, that's why I want to grow it and maybe it'll be better. But on World According to Briggs, when you create a video, people are gonna be watching that. I was just looking at some of my stats, and I have videos that I made in 2017 that still got a couple hundred views today, or yesterday or whatever. On this day, when that day's over, it really doesn't get views until next year on the day. Sorry. I always forget the mic's right here. Yeah, it's kind of rough. I wonder if there's a mute button. In case I have to clear my throat. It's that season. The sinuses are just killing me right now. So let's see. I like On This Day. I love On This Day. I do too. On This Day's fun channel. I mean, and the cool thing about it, if you guys don't know, I donate the profits from that channel to schools. David, who's on here, he's a teacher. I donated his class, and I know there's two other people that their wives were teachers. They sent me to the link to their donor choose, and I donated to those classrooms. So it's not just me trying to grow a channel; it's also helping students because my sister's teacher. I know a lot of teachers, and they just don't get the funding they need to run a class. Actually, it's like they get the books and a place to teach, and it almost feels like that's it. There's like figure it out. down here a little. There we go. Boop, boop, boo. Okay. It brings down the name of class. There's my classroom because that good. I am glad. So Sunday I might do, Lacey. Sunday I might do a story. I talked to an interesting person while I was on the cruise. And one lady came up to me and she's, "Oh, I watch your channel all the time." Da 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 da. Da. Chatted with her for a few minutes. I was sitting at one of the bars there on the cruise ship, uh, waiting for someone, and my cousin. And she's all takes some pictures with me, and she leaves, and then I'm just sitting there and looking at my phone. This lady next to me goes, "Who are you?" And I'm Briggs. And she goes, "What do you do?" That she recognized you from. I'm an adult film star. I just said that to get the look on her face. Oh my God. She was like, "Oh, oh." And her husband, who's on the other side, so her head here goes, just stares at me for a second. It was pretty funny. Right. Oh, I guess that was right. Okay, there we go. Let's try that again. I put popcorn stuff on the ceiling of this room and painted it. I noticed something, it was a little too dark no matter what the lights I had on, so I put white paint on the ceiling with some of that plaster to cut down on the audio. Oh yeah, still got to tell jokes. Yeah, so anyway, I met someone really interesting on the cruise. I hope to get that story out this Sunday. In case you guys don't know, that's something we used to do a lot, but I got away from it because things got, well, it's actually when I had a stroke. I kind of backed off a lot of things. But it's just me telling stories of people I meet. And that's the one thing about me. When I meet you and we could sit down and talk, I'm going to get your whole life story. At least I'm going to want it. You may not want to give it to me, but that's what I've always done. And it's not because I'm nosy or I'm prying. I just think people have the most interesting stories. I mean, I always say that. I mean, you know, uh, I love movies and I love books and all that stuff, but the best stories you're ever going to hear are from just random Joes living their life, finding your America. That's it. They find their America. And if you've never watched it, there's been some pretty interesting ones that people, there's one guy, nice guy. He actually emailed me after I put up the video, but his mom died when he's early teens. And he was lucky that the landlord, this is in Chicago, the landlord knew him, and it was just him and his mom. The landlord let him stay there, and eventually he ended up living in his car. And the landlord lady was also his tutor. She spoke like four languages, and he learned a couple. So he had no job, no nothing, and a homeless person told him, "You speak so many languages." Another car homeless person, "Why don't you go down to the courthouse? They always need interpreters." And that's changed his life. Amazing story. George the Animal Steel is awesome. But if you're trying to say I look like him, that's inappropriate. George looks like a mutant, or did, dead now. Did I get in the grunge scene? No, so most of the grunge time I was in the army, so I didn't really get into it. I mean, I like the music. I'm never a big Nirvana fan, but I did like Temple the Dog was really good. Soundgarden, I like them. Pearl Jam was great. There's a couple other ones I like. Sleater Kinney thought was amazing. I don't know why I never liked Nirvana. I don't know. It's weird. When I was in the army at Fort Ord, which is Central California, me and my roommate, we were doing fake war things. So we had to dig a fighting position, which most of you refer to as a foxhole. And I've got the night vision goggles, and I see something coming towards us. I'm like, "What is that?" It's a freaking mountain lion. And it's the night, middle of the night. We didn't know what to do, and we're only training, so we don't have any real bullets. We only had uh, blanks and the mile system, which is lasers. So it's like, what do we do? Well, we had our bayonets. So me and him laid down the fighting position with the rifle and the bayonet, so he'd impale himself if he jumped on us. He never came near us. Toadies. Allison Change, or Out Change. Allison Change. I like that. Chains. My God, speak, Jim. I liked Allison Chains. They were pretty good. There's a couple other ones that I can't remember now that I really like, but Allison Chains was great. Lane Stanley. I think I did do one. It's under the title "Cities That Should Be Bulldozed." So the question was, um, can I do a video on cities that are too far gone? Well, that was one of them. It was cities that need to be bulldozed. I just gave it a fancy title. Okay. So when you start putting obscenities in here, you get bounced. Boom. Yeah, I like to do those ones because that was a very successful one. And it's good to update things like that because the reality is, if you like that subject, a year or two later, most people are going to like it again. It's pretty interesting. You just update some of the stats. So I probably will do that one again. Um, that's the other thing about these AI videos. So it's called juicing the algorithm. At least that's what I call it. When a video works, you make another one just like it, and then another one just like it. So if you're watching one of those channels, let's say I just did one on places you can live on Social Security. Well, their next video will be states that you could live on Social Security, and then they'll follow it up with small towns where you could live on Social Security. If they have a winning combination of words, they're just going to run with it, and they beat a subject to death. I can't stand that. I did not know Everclear was from uh, or Marcy's Playground. I did not know that. I didn't know they're from Portland. Briggs, what do you think the best place to go outside of California? Meaning move outside of California? Years ago I would have said Oregon. There are parts of Oregon that are still amazing, but it's getting a little too overpriced. So there's better options. Idaho is a great option. If you don't mind the heat, Arizona. If you really want to save some money, I wouldn't go to the South. I would go to the Midwest, Iowa, Kansas, Nebraska, even Missouri. You're going to get a lot of bang for your buck there. Sure, it comes with a host of problems, tornadoes, poverty, things like that. But that's where I'd be looking, especially nowadays with the economy is going to be a little sketchy. If I was moving out of the state, I would definitely move someplace where I can save some money. States that have more Eskimos than Inuits. Yeah, you could come up with some pretty lame videos. In case you guys don't know, the chat's moving pretty quick. We got 207 people in here. I do this all by myself, so I don't have someone help me. So if I miss your question, I do apologize. Maybe I'll get to it next time. Dover Drone Photography. How are you, Dover Drone Photography? Have I seen your videos? I might have. Kurt's Corner. How are you, Kurt? I don't like using median prices. That works for economist, real estate brokers, things like that. People want to know what the house is really going to cost. So, because they're thinking about buying them. They're not thinking about investing in them or anything like that. So that's why I give the average home value. That's a little more realistic to what the prices are. So I'll give you an example. If I say median home price for a place is $300,000, well then you look on Zillow, and their average home value is about 260. Okay, so or something like that. I'm just off the top of my head making up numbers here. But then when you start poking around and start looking at two bedrooms, you find most of them are closer to the average home value. So to someone that's thinking about moving someplace, that makes more sense than median. And every time I use median, people are all, "Was that the average or what is it?" No, it's weird. Huntington Beach, how are you? 500 a month. Hold on. April wants to know, where would you live on 5K a month? Would love to see a series. Yeah, there you go. That could be a good one. Obviously, it's going to be somewhere in the Midwest or South. That's where you're going to find the cheapest, places to live. But with that comes lack of jobs, a lot of poverty, no big cities. And I get it. To some people, no big cities is a great thing. But you got to remember, it's not just you in the world. Other people love to have a big city nearby. I mean, I like having Portland close to me, but I'm just far enough away to not be bothered by Portland. Let me catch up here. New Pope, please weigh in. So the new Pope that we just got, I was raised Roman Catholic at a private Catholic high school or middle school. They kicked me out before high school. So I'm Irish Catholic and Norwegian. So I know all about the Pope thing, and it's kind of a unique situation. The new Pope that they picked today is from Southside Chicago. Yeah, went to Villanova and everything. Chinook, Montana. It's near Har I don't know if you guys saw that. I went to get tacos to Havre, Montana. That's an interesting American story. I told it in that video, but the legend of how Havre got the name is two guys got in a fight, this back in the old days, old West days almost, of Montana. And these two guys at a bar got in a fight over a girl. And the guy who was losing got knocked down a couple times. Finally, about getting knocked down the third or fourth time, he stood up and said, "You could have her." And the name stuck. I've been to Bishop, California years ago. I wasn't impressed. I mean, I was 25. My friend's girlfriend, her parents lived there and they had a good chunk of property. And so we went up there and stayed the weekend, and they had a pool and had a good time. Rode ATVs. I know what the problem is here. Normally, I make it that you have to be a subscriber to leave comments. I forgot to do that this time. That's why we're getting a bunch of yahoos. Give me 1 second here, ladies and gentlemen. Save. All right, that should eliminate that. The Bulls. I'm a big White Sox fan. Are you guys there? There we go. Okay. So I'm a big White Sox fan, and I noticed Nike, and they're trying to do this thing where their merch is the red and black like the Bulls, which, if you know anything about baseball, the White Sox are black and white, period. Placer County. Joel, how are you? Southside team. Melbourne, Florida. Top 10 Vegas casinos. That would be. Oh yeah. Um, so I used to go to Vegas quite often, but I stayed in like 5 or 6 different casinos, like 20 or 30. But I never really, I'd go to Caesars for a convention thing. I stayed at Bally's one time. Um, I stayed at the Luxor when it was new. Uh, got a couple other ones, but I always stay on the strip too. Didn't like downtown, but I wasn't that big into bouncing and trying new ones each time. So I'd make a video about it, but I don't have enough experience. And plus, most of my experience with Vegas is years back. Thoughts about Chico, California? I was up there 2 years ago for my niece's graduation, and I had a good time. I did not act my age. I hung out with college people and had a good time. What's the best state in which to retire, according to me? So it's obviously going to be a preference. And what's your motivation? Is it going to be money or do you want warm weather? If you want warmer weather, I would definitely look at South Carolina before Florida. It's going to be cheaper and you might have a hurricane, but you'll almost never shovel snow. Where I would personally, because I don't mind the cold, it'd be Vermont, maybe Maine, maybe even Wisconsin. Can't decide. Thoughts on Boulder? Boulder's a great place. I think I mentioned that already. Yeah, I had a great time there. Being from California, how did you become a White Sox fan? When I was in 8th grade, I read a book about the White Sox throwing the World Series, the Black Sox situation, and I just started following them from that point on. I mean, I grew up a Dodger fan too, but really, it was the White Sox for me. I just found that such an interesting piece of history. And sometimes it's little things like that that trigger you to like a team. So, yeah, that's how I got into that. Cleveland Browns, I've told this story a million times. I used to talk to some of the players when they had the old USFL league in Los Angeles back in the 80s. Then when the league shut down, like 3 or 4 of the players went to the Browns. So, these are people I'd met and talked to, and, your 16-year-old head, 15-year-old head, they were your friends. So I was just watching my friends and ended up being a Cleveland Browns fan. Home insurance rates are skyrocketing. Yeah, they are, especially in Florida. And there's a whole thing on that. West Virginia, if you don't need a job, meaning you work remotely or you're retired and you want to save some money, West Virginia is hands down the winner. It's cold, it's got some poverty, a lot of poverty. It's got some other problems, but you know, stay in your lane and you won't have those problems. So, but don't go there expecting a job. You'll never find one. I am all over the sports world. Well, thank you, Jay. I'd love to do. I'd love to be a researcher on your channel, Briggs. I have a lot of free times. Yeah, you know what? I right now the rate my channel is the way things are going right now with YouTube. I'm not hiring anyone for a while. Best road trips. That's one I want to do, but I actually want to do the road trips themselves. I also want to do the best train routes. I'm almost complete. I have 2 more major train trips to take, and then I'll be able to do my favorite train trips video. Seattle freeze is no joke. West Virginia has beautiful and rough. Yep. You got to be a hard person to live in West Virginia. Sort of like in Montana and Wyoming. They're just a little rougher, and you know, unless you're in one of their cities, you got to be a little resilient. Best road trip I've ever done. When I was a kid, we drove all the way across the United States and back. That was pretty fun, family and all that stuff. Driving back from Georgia one time, that was pretty good. From the Army, driving back to California from Kansas. I actually drove an ex-girlfriend from her graduation at the University of Wisconsin at Madison, and broke up along the way. because she was nuts. Yeah, figured that out halfway through the trip. What else are we working on here? Well, thank you, Kurt. Do you have a favorite? I used to go watch Clippers. I'm not a basketball person. Damn, we gotta quit shaking that desk. Not me. Have you ever done a haunted? Yeah, I've done a couple different haunted ones. They don't do that well normally. I guess I have done one on missing persons that did really well. I did one on haunted hotels, haunted places, and they never done really well. But when I combined them all, because I did probably like 10 of them, and I did this compilation video where I combined all 10 of my haunted, scary ones, that did really well. Where we discussed that, Mr. Chess. Thoughts on the new Pope? He's from Chicago. He went to Villanova. Great. That's all I know. He's from the United States, and it's rare that we have a Pope from the United States. I don't know if he's the first one, but he's the first one I can remember. I'm considering the suburbs of Orlando for my next move. I live in Vegas now, only concerned about the humidity. Humidity is rough, and if you're in Vegas and you're moving to Orlando, it's going to take some getting used to. Trust me on that one. And insects, too. Absolutely. I'll answer any question I read. Have you been to Toronto? I have been to Toronto. I liked it, even though it smelled like poo. I think they built what do you call it? The Hyperion plant too close to the city or something. The wind blows wrong, woo! It was rough. Southern Life, according to Briggs. Matt, what's funny about that is Southern people always forget there is a B in my last name. Drill sergeants used to call me Riggs all the time, or Biggs. Biggs, get up here. Never Briggs. I don't know what was the struggle with them getting the B and the R together, but. Do you ever do videos on Upper? There's not a lot going on up there. If I ever do one that's got some beautiful wilderness, probably do the Upper Peninsula. Mount Biggs. Okay. Just want to make sure I'm not missing something. I'm doing this vertical live, and there's all those things like chats and stickers that I haven't seen any, so that's strange. Anyway, I just hope it's not the system. And don't forget to hit that like button, guys. Please, please, please. Let's see it. Jackson, Mississippi, your town. No, I'm not a fan of Jackson, Mississippi. It's chess. Oh, wow, I'm going way back there. I'm going to tap out. Kurt, thanks for hanging out. Smoggiest city, Beijing. Briggs, just want to say, love you. Let's keep coming. Absolutely, Thomas, I will. Keep watching. And please, everyone, like all my videos. Leave a comment if you can. That's even more so. I've not made a video about McMinimans. I've been to about 7 of them. Even one that's getting ready to close down. They sold the building. That one near the Pearl District. Yeah. American Smo, I did one on that. If you guys don't know, McMinimans is a really interesting company. I almost said country. Really interesting company. They buy old buildings, like let's say it was a firehouse, a schoolhouse, something like that, and they turn it into a pub and nice restaurant. They make they brew their own beer and all that stuff. So it's pretty interesting. And I've been to a lot of them because they're just kind of neat and unique. Briggs, when you say Hispanic, don't call the cops. Yes, on many videos, it upsets me. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. When do you police report as a victim? They don't file a report. Why? So why does it upset you if you just agreed with me? Am I reading that wrong? When we do? Okay. So yeah, I'm not saying, I'm just stating a fact. And yeah, that's part of it. They don't do anything, or they have other problems, or they create problems when they show up in the Hispanic community. There's a serious mistrust in the United States for the police with the Hispanic community, and it didn't just fall out, you know, thin air. Things have happened. So, and plus, a lot of them come from other countries where you definitely don't call the police because the police are sometimes worse than the criminals. Um, so, yeah, there's nothing to be upset about that. That makes no sense. It's a fact. You just admitted it. Why would you be upset? You think Portland's coming back to be? Yeah, you know, Portland's doing better. So obviously, the homeless and all the problems peaked around 2021, middle of the pandemic. 2022 was pretty rough too. 2023, there was a little bit of a change. 24 got a little bit better, and we have a new mayor. So things are changing. And the times I've been down there recently, I haven't seen, you know, probably about 7 months ago, I went down. I didn't see half the homeless people that I was used to. And then just recently, a week and a half ago, I didn't scour the city looking for homeless people, but I drove around, normal place I go, and I didn't see half as many as I normally see. Briggs, it's JF, how are you? You know, and I hate it. Sometimes the police are criminals, but you can't say they all are. There's a lot of really good cops out there. I know quite a few. My brother-in-law was great. He never, I think he pulled me over once before he knew my sister, but um, you know, I know a lot of good cops, and I actually know two that should have never been cops. You know, growing up with them, you're all, why is that guy a cop? He's an idiot. But you know, it's a job just like any other one. They're not above having people that are bad, and they're not above having people that are too dumb to be doing the job that slip through the cracks. Researching the top 10 democratically run cities that are going to collapse first. Well, see, the thing is, Shane, 96% of cities in the US are Democrat controlled. So, I mean, it's not like it's 50-50. It's 96%. But I'll tell you what, there's a higher rate of Republican cities that suck versus Democrat cities. And it's really not a comparison because, I mean, 4% of the cities are run by Republicans. But everyone always seems to forget that Stockton is a Republican city. Oklahoma City is Republican. Fresno is a Republican one. There's some pretty bad ones out there. People always rag on the other side like, you know, whatever party they're part of is flawless. It's just not the truth. You know, I mean, thinking one party is better than the other, in my opinion, is a little naive. Because you got to remember, sure, there's going to be a lot of rundown cities that are run by Democrats, but then when you go look at the states, it's like the poorest states, nine of the highest, high, 9 of the 10 with the highest poverty rate are Republican states. You know, the states, 10 out of 10, the states that have the highest percentage of residents on public assistance are Republican states, and they have been for decades. You know, and then of course you go to the Democrat cities, and it's crime everywhere. There's drugs everywhere. There's all kinds of problems in every place. The only difference is where are you getting your information from? Because we all know everything in the media these days is side. They picked their sides a long time ago, and they're just going to tell you one side, make the other side look bad, and they're going to make their side look wonderful. And that's all there is to it. Uh, a Southern Life, don't, whose feelings am I hurting? From Jacksonville, Florida until, see, what is going on? Going body cam video. Okay, well, we're getting too emotional on this. Let's bring it back. Get your information from travel. Well, what is going on here? Um, Now, myself I care less about politics. It's just I just crack up that people seem to think whatever their party is, that's it's flawless. They don't make mistakes. Why is the Midwest so cold? Not a weather guy, but just someone told me it's because they don't have any mountains to disrupt the air or something like that. And I don't know. I don't know all the truth about it, but the cold weather can come sweeping down after it gets past the Rockies. So I don't know what that means, but it's going to come north and it's going to come down like a funnel. Still don't know what it means. Hey, Daniel. Benefits of living in Washington, Oregon. Everything's green. Everything's beautiful. You don't have dry, brittle fields, nothing like that. And to some people, that is a big deal. I grew up in Southern California. There's never any water. I mean, the weather's great, but there's palm trees and dried grass. I like my ground a little muddy. There's that, and then there's a different lifestyle compared to other places I've lived. In Oregon, where it's not people aren't judgmental up here. Now, sure, you're going to find some, but compared to the rest of the country, I just never got that vibe. Everyone's more let each other live and do your own thing. Don't mess with other people's reality. The crime is horrible, but not, stay out of the bad areas and you'll be fine. Toilets do not drain reverse in southern states. You got to pass the equator for that kind of action. I'd love it there in Northern Ireland. That's exactly what you get. You get Oregon weather. I wonder if you follow the latitudes. I wonder if Ireland is right on track with Portland. I don't have a globe in here. Iowa decor. I just did a video where I mentioned that, or maybe I worked on it and I haven't put it up yet. I was just reading up on them. I go to college here, Rock Island, Illinois. Winters can be harsh in Illinois. You're a bit further north. Oh, okay. Parts of the crime unit most reports are usually domestic. Yeah, well, that's a fact. I mean, most violent crime rate is going to be a domestic issue. I guarantee in a city like, let's say, Southside Chicago, known as one of the most violent parts of the country, if you go there, I would not doubt about almost half of what the police have to respond to is domestic issues, domestic violence, whatever. And that gets labeled violent crime stats. So the violent crime rate looks really bad. But when you break it on down, talk about the shootings, the, people look and it says like they had 40 violent crimes last night in Southside Chicago. Well, you look and it was like only 6 of them, which is bad. I'm not saying that's nothing. 6 of them were like gang violence or someone shot someone or someone murdered someone. The rest of them are domestic violence. Briggs, what days do you post videos? Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and now Saturdays. What's my favorite regional food in the United States? I like Southern barbecue, especially when you get into the South Carolina area where they start using that mustard-based barbecue sauce. Love that. I grew up in Tacoma, moved to Puyallup. Nice. Best tech view. Easily, you're just gonna jump on San Francisco. San Diego, though, is probably the best. Have you ever traveled to southern New Jersey? I have, and I'm circulating. I've been to southern New Jersey. Trying to think of this city. Family has Ocean City. God, I can't believe I forgot that one. So we stayed in Ocean City and we went down to Cape May and did a couple other things. It was interesting. As far as driving through there and inspecting the city, um, I was at a, I've been to Philadelphia, which is in Pennsylvania. I've been to Tom's River for a couple days. Drove around Edison for half a day one time, and, stuff like that. Hey, Bassett, sorry. Which coastal town is my favorite? Easy question, easy answer. Cannon Beach. I love Cannon Beach. Second place is Manzanita. After that, you're gonna have to go all the way down to Brookings. Ooh, Pine Barrens. In the woods. Yep, definitely in the woods. Where do I vacation? Usually a cruise ship these days. Where did I go for college? A few colleges, because I was in the Army and I could take class here, class there, then transfer, class here, class there, stuff like that. When I went to college, it was well before the internet and you couldn't do online classes, so you actually had to attend. So yeah, took me 4 years to get a 2-year degree. How about that? That was the downside. I could only take this class and then might miss a semester and then take another one. Not because I want to do, because I had a rifle and they liked me to go places with it. Cruising tomorrow to Alaska. Nice. What cruise line? Best place to live in Washington. Best safe suburb. So there's a lot of really cool places on the eastern side of Washington. Myself, I'm a western side type person, and my sister lives in a really nice place called Ridgefield. That's a really nice place to live. I like that place. I have been to Atlantic Canada. I was just in St. John's, New Brunswick, and Halifax last October. Actually, got back from that trip, and that's when I had medical emergency like 2 weeks later. Is it true being in a cruise for a year is cheaper than renting a house? My understanding, you can pull that off. A lot of people will take the inside cabin, which, it's like living in a walk-in closet almost. But your food's there, things for you, all that stuff, everything gets cleaned. And I know people could do it for like 300 bucks a week, 400 bucks a week, maybe. There's one guy named, they call him Super Mario. I don't know his last name. It depends on the cruise line, but I think he shows up on other cruise channels. People interview him all the time. That guy just stays on the ship all the time. Royal Caribbean too. Been to, I think he just stays with Royal Copperfield Campground. I have not. Southern Line. Okay. Is Bend nice? Bend is nice. It's getting a little overcrowded. It's terribly expensive, and not nearly as bad as other places. But they do have their little stretch of homeless people. Have I been outside the U.S.? Oh yes. I've been a lot of places, but I've been to every single country in Central America. Been into quite a few in South America, um, Europe. Not that many, but enough. Obviously, Canada. I do not have a Twitch account. I used to. I think it's still there. I just don't do anything with Twitch. Atlanta suburbs are nice. So, couple that really good friends of mine from Los Angeles, they just bought a house in Henderson. They'd decided to leave Los Angeles, wanted to finally move to Henderson. They like it. Don't forget to hit that like. Don't forget to hit that like button, guys. Do you like Napa, Simone County, California? I do. My mom loved that area up there. But I've been up to Napa more times than I can remember, and gotta keep hitting the desk and it shakes this phone. But yeah, Napa's nice. Sonoma County's really nice. I've been to Sears Point to watch a race, all that stuff. Been to Mexico too many times. I grew up in Southern California. I used to go down there and surf all the time, and then go to Tijuana and then Rosarita, Ensenada, all those places. Sail in Royal Caribbean, nice. Hey, Kurt, welcome back. If we get enough likes in this video, I'll go down and give McMuffin a new orange. That girl loves an orange. Oh my God. Give that pig an orange. Oh, she'll follow you around for a day, hoping you have one in your pocket. Um, I think Portland's got the potential to come back, and there's moves to getting it back. I mean, for the longest time, until 2015, it was one of the top 10 most moved to cities in the United States. Do you realize that? A lot of people forget that. So 10 years ago, they were still one of the, when I lived here, because I've lived here like 16 years now, almost 16 years. And yes, August could be 16 years. And up until about 2015, 2016, it was in the top five, and then it fell out hard around 2017 and was completely gone. But I think it's got potential to get back there. Have you? I've done geocaching before, but it became too much of a hassle. They did film Grim around Portland. They filmed quite a few things. I signed up for to be an extra one time in something, and I didn't work out when I was gonna. I forget what they're filming here, and they still send me stuff all the time. Got extra positions up here in Portland. No thanks. A couple weeks ago, oh my God, I haven't had a. I applied for a job at AT&T as like a manager thing. God, probably around 2011, and they emailed me a couple months back. They finally have a position for me. I'm like, what are you? What's going on here? Great legs, Edmund Fitzgerald. That's a great story, by the way. What stat would you recommend living on Social Security? Affordability. I mean, how cheap is it? What's the cost of living? What's housing? If you're just on Social Security, you'd be pinching pennies. That's why I always say live on Social Security in these videos, but really it's live on Social Security with a little extra help. Did you have, a 401k? You'll probably have to have a part-time job. No one can survive on Social Security alone. You got to have a part-time job. Or someone's paying your rent, living with your kids, something like that. BBB Knives in Portland? Never heard of it. Does sound interesting though. BBB Knives. Wait, did I? Oh, by the way, I did get a while back, I did get a super chat, which was from Violet Bassett, which I really appreciate you supporting the channel. I forgot to tell you that. Thank you very much. I hate it when I forget things like that. Where was I? BBD knives, handmade, triple B, Halifax, or half flex. Sorry, that's not Halifax. Boop, 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 boop. Home. They make some interesting knives. My son's a big fan of knives. Not to cut people up, he just likes collecting them. I love Boulder too. Briggs, your audio is low. My volume is turned up. Can you guys hear me? Everyone hear me okay? Uh-oh. What do we got going here? 1. Did I hit something? 111. 111. Let me turn this up. 111. I can hear myself. Audio's fine. Yeah, there we go. I don't know if I did something, but audio seems to be fine. Let's take me off here. So. I don't know if I did something, but audio seems to be fine. There we go. All right. Edmund Fitzgerald boat was the same day. Oh, it was your birthday. Nice. Briggs, what do you think about Spokane, Washington? Spokane's okay. It's not the worst city in the Pacific Northwest, but it definitely ain't the best. Briggs, what is your most common stop typing in your videos? Traverse City. Traverse City. I say it wrong sometimes. Matter of fact, video I have coming out tomorrow, there's a Lewiston and a Lewistown. Well, I kept screwing it up on one of them. And I make it very clear. I left them in there just so you can see how many times I screwed it up. Audio's better now. Good, good, good. Hey, Joyce of San Joaquin Valley. How are you, buddy? Trashiest city in Oregon? Gresham. At least that's the trashiest one I've experienced. I'm sure there's worse. Yeah, so Traverse, can't even say it now. So I used to know someone named Traverse. That was their last name. And then there's Traverse City, sorry. And then there's Traverse, which if you have a machine gun and you're moving it back and forth, you're traversing. Learn that from the Army. So there's three things that sound like it, and I always screw it up a little bit. New construction home. So I am working on one, researching one. We haven't got really past the let's research this thing on what states are doing the most new home construction. So the downside of that one is we found 3 different resources and they all have different numbers. So yeah, Traverse City is a great place to live or a great place to visit too. People really like that place. Was my favorite machine gun? I was a big fan of the Saw M249. I was in the Army way back when we still had the M60 too. The old, God, I think that was almost Korean War. No, I've not heard about a lithium deposit. Well, if you like the outdoors and mosquitoes, Upper Peninsula is a great place to visit in the summer. Wisconsin has a lot of really nice underrated small towns. GTR Motorsport, hi. More videos about South Carolina. Yeah, when we do, what they've never done really well? I've uploaded quite a few, and they by themselves they've never. Matter of fact, I had this great one. At least I thought it was great. I thought it was very interesting. I've done things similar like that, similar to this one, but which one was it? It was most affordable small towns in South Carolina. Oh, there it is. Best South Carolina cities to live in or retire. Did nothing. It was horrible. I mean, it's got 28,000 views. The video I did yesterday, which isn't a really killer video, didn't do that well. That's got 38,000. Only 10. It's got 10,000 more, and it was put up yesterday versus one that was put up on April 4th. So yeah, over a month. There's been a couple I thought were going to be really good recently that just dummy. Um, most secluded small towns in Europe, horrible. Did one on human trafficking, horrible. And went through minigun. There you go. Big Bear. I don't even know what that is. Your videos back. Yeah, we're gonna be doing a bunch of retirement videos right now. That seems to be very interesting to people. So we're gonna ride that a little bit. Not gonna do like the AI channels do, where we just beat it to death. But I've got like 4 ones that are ready to go that are about retirement. You got to remember, my audience, for the most part, I think it's like 70%. Let me see. Audience. So I'm the exact opposite of most YouTube channels when it comes to demographics. So usually it's the 13 to 17-year-olds have the biggest line on this. I wonder if I can save this and put it up. I don't think it'll go up. Maybe it will. Hold on. See if I can drop it on this. I don't think I got anything to throw up that. Nope, it won't do it. Okay, so if you look at this chart, shows what age brackets your audience is. My smallest one is normally the one that's the biggest for most people, which is 13 to 17-year-olds. My biggest is 65 plus. With that's 28.8% of who watches my channel are 65 or above, and then another 23.8 is between 55 and 64, and then 17% for 45 to 54. So I'm the exact opposite of 90% of the channels out there. It's really strange. West Virginia could recover someday. It's going to be, they got to have something come in there. I mean, they need to lean heavily into their tourism and their ecotourism. People show up. 51, I'm 50. There you go. So yeah, so that's what they're looking for. They're looking for best place to retire, best places to move. So we're kind of lean into that for a little while. I think I was going a little too hard on the sarcasm for a while there. Also, I think that kind of messed with the algorithm. They started slipping me into the comedy categories. Josie Jones, what's going on? Sound is still good. Good. Ton of people moved to Kentucky before the Derby. I'm sure a lot visit, but I don't know about living there. Well, thank you, Calvin. No, California's not going to become the next Colorado. There's some people that argue it already is. La Grande, whatever. Someone I know used to live out there. I saw that they moved out there. I forget who it was on Facebook. To La Grande, Oregon. Best sporting event you've ever attended? UFC event. Rugby. Not a rugby fan. You know, the reality is, getting a little circle of death here. The reality of sporting events, I really prefer to see them on TV because you get replays and you get all that stuff, and there's no guessing. The announcer's telling you what's going on. Um, Sometimes it's interesting. I think hockey is one of the best sports to see in person because almost no matter where you are, you're going to get a good seat. Basketball, I'm sure, has the same thing. But as far as normal games, not UFC, normal sports, I think hockey is the best to go see myself for a fan. All right, what time is it, guys? All right, so I'm going to wind this down. It's been about an hour, maybe a little bit over. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. I have some people asking questions here. Why did you stop your short sleeve shirts? Be nice to people. War mine to death. I haven't gotten any more. I haven't ordered some anymore, or recently. The company that gets me my T-shirts, they they're not good. So I've been trying to get another company, but it's been a little more time consuming than I really have time for, and I want to get new designs out. So that'll eventually happen. I'll dump the old company. I got nothing but complaints from people about them. I ordered my shirt 6 months ago and it's not here. Oh, God. So I design a shirt and I put it up there and I leave links. They take care of it from them. Now, I do feel a certain amount of responsibility because you are my subscriber and my viewer that's ordering one of my T-shirts, which supports me, and I really appreciate that. So there's a little bit of responsibility for me to follow up with these people, but once every couple months, that's fine. I might give them a call, find out what happened to some things, but sometimes it's like I get 3 in a week. Where's my shirt? I ordered 6 months ago. Oh, well, thank you, April. April, you're too nice. McMuffin is good. She was outside. So we got our grass all fixed outside, and she promptly went over there. And I keep thinking the camera's over here. I'm using this one. Um, so she promptly went over and rooted around so she could make a nice little bed for her afternoons because she likes laying on the ground, but she doesn't like that grass for some reason. She likes the dirt. So basically, she goes out there, she lays in it, and then we kind of rub her down or hose her down before we bring her in for the night. She's actually going to start being a outside pig soon. Got a really nice hut for her coming out. So see how that works out. Favorite comedian you've ever seen live? So my favorite comedian ever is going to be Robert Schimmel. Never saw him live though. My favorite comedian I've seen live is probably Dave Attell. Now my favorite comedian that's a friend that I love watching is there's a couple of them, but Joel Lindley, Danny Viapondo, Chris Strait, Jeff Capri, all great comics. They're not mainstream comics, but they're in it long before me. But they're good, and they've stuck with it for the most part. I think Chris Strait's the only one that started after me, about the same time. You haven't heard Disney's opening a theme park, and I've heard something about that they're going to open it. They're also thinking about opening up one in North Carolina for some reason. Have you talked to Nick and Mappy? I texted Nick a couple weeks ago. That's it. We haven't really talked much lately. I did see a video where I've known Nick for what, you know, personally, we've hung out a few times for like 4 or 5 years now, and I never saw his wife. It was always just me and him doing something or whatever. Doing it with Briggs, I got two coming out. Just haven't edited them yet. Got to get back to it. Oh, Insomniac was a great show. David Tell, love that. All right, guys, I am going to wind this down right now. I got to get something to eat, and I think this phone's about to die. Uh, Let me know, how'd you like the vertical live stream? Should we do it again? It really helps out the channel, apparently. We'll see in the coming weeks how it works out. All right, everyone, have a great day. Be nice to each other. Thanks for hanging out with me.